What is up, y'all, and welcome into episode 128 of the On the Bluff podcast. I am your host, Gabe Kuhn. Joining me, as always, Kenny Stubblefield is with me, co-hosting tonight. Christian Fowler. I know we've sort of been in and out, and we apologize for that, but this one was out of our control.
This one's on. It wasn't God. This
it wasn't like me where a baby was teething and Mama was at work. This is Christian and everybody else in northern Mississippi just going through those storms last night. I hope everybody's doing well from that, but he's been out of power all day. No family member has power, so no Wi-Fi.
Nobody around him.
So he's stuck. Apparently he said one of the power lines just literally fell down 2 miles from his house. So that's why he's out. But he'll probably join again next week if they get the power on by then. I hope everybody in northern Mississippi is doing okay, but that's why he's out this week. But Kenny, what's happening, man? How are you?
Man, I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. Did you enjoy some EYBL this weekend?
Yeah, man, I was there all weekend.
By the end, did you even enjoy it? I mean, you were probably there for, my guess is 24 hours combined through 3 days.
Yeah, I was there for about 28 hours over and I mean, it was cool. I wasn't there covering the actual event, but I did get to watch a lot of basketball. It was interesting because it's been a while since I've covered high school ball, Gabe, and especially with the transfer portal and with everything, kind of the way that college way that college basketball is going. This is one of the first times in a long time that there's actually been one of those like national events where they're during a time period where coaches can come and actually be involved in
open recruiting period. Yep.
It's an open recruiting period. And what's crazy is this is the only one this summer where it's a free period or where coaches can come and watch. So what's interesting is like literally, dude, the luminaries of college basketball head coaching were there. Everybody was there. There was not a single coach. Like you wanted to find anybody, they were there. And so that was really cool. It was really interesting to see, all these guys that we kind of covered and watched and all that kind of stuff, throughout this entire season. Then seeing some of the coaches that have changed jerseys, right? Like, so you had Bucky McMillan from Texas A&M, who was a Sanford head coach last year. He was there with his entire crew. Sitting next to him was Buzz Williams with his Maryland crew on.
Yeah,
and then you had John Calipari in Arkansas sitting next to Mark Pope in the Kentucky. And I'm like, I was sitting there going, I wonder if this is weird. I wonder if it's like, I wore that shirt last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would be like a picture. If you took a picture of all that a decade ago, people would be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
For sure.
But it was really cool. I will say this, man. Like, you know who I saw there? He had a son playing. And he was there. Marcus Spears was there. His son is a rising junior. His name is I think it's like Tariq Spears, and this guy is 6'8", 6'9", 16 years old, just a beast. Where did
he get that height from?
I don't know, but I mean Marcus is big.
He ain't 6'8".
No. But Marcus was there. That was cool. It was really cool to see Swagoo. Like I was like, oh, I could hear his voice. You could hear his voice over there. And so I was like, wait, I know that voice. And anyway, he was there. But guess who was there, dude? Hakeem Olajuwon was there. Bro.
That's one of those guys, though. You just look. It's like being in the presence of that person just feels – it doesn't feel real.
It doesn't feel real. It's like that's the dream, man. Like that's – it's wild.
That's the all-time leader in block shots in NBA history there.
That might be like top 2 or 3 big men in the history of the NBA. Like
a top 10 player all time.
All time. Yeah. Like that was a little strange to kind of like walk out of the bathroom and see Hakeem Olajuwon standing there was a little bit wild. But I will say this to you. It was really interesting to me. Guess who got the most pop the entire time?
Who?
That out of everybody. I'm talking couldn't walk through the area where fans were without people freaking out. You're never going to guess it.
It's Penny Hardaway?
Penny Hardaway. Yeah. It is crazy to me. Like, and we're talking people from all over the country were there. Everybody, like kids from all over the country, families, parents, siblings, all that, cousins, grandmothers, everybody was there all over the country. and Penny could not literally walk through the place without people going, "Can I get a Penny?" Freaking out, like legitimately people freaking out about him. It's still wild to me that he's the head coach of our local university.
Yeah.
But
I know he had a couple of podcasts maybe that were recorded in the past week or so, something like that. No, he had that going on. So
he did.
I can't wait to see that. It was Kelvin Sampson and John Calipari. Those should be fun to watch.
Yeah, man. They're going to be interesting conversations, I can tell you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting with Penny though, because you would think at this point, like the kids would not really know who he is. We're so far removed from peak, all NBA first team with the Magic, knocking off the Bulls in the 90s. I feel like we're so far removed from that, but I don't know. He commands respect from the parents, and the parents, like, I don't know, if you're a ball player, I bet there's a lot of conversations like, if we're talking about the best players all time that never quite materialized, whether it's injury or whatever, Penny's at the top of that list. He's number one on that list. Has to be. Could have been. What would have been. Not could have been. What would have been.
Or even what should have been, right?
Yes,
like what should have been. Like this, it is absolutely insane that this guy is not a surefire Hall of Fame NBA basketball player, surefire top
just because of the knee, brother.
Just because of his knee. Like that is it's disappointing and also very Memphis, right? Like it feels very Memphis that it's like, of course, of course, we know you're awesome. Like everybody knows you're awesome, but it just didn't work out the way that everybody thought it should, and it probably could have. So, but
it is a very uniquely Memphis thing, isn't it?
Very uniquely Memphis. It always feels like something always happens that just makes it where it's like we can't celebrate. Right?
Yeah.
But no, it was a cool event, man. A lot of crazy talent. I think at least the top 10 players in the 2026 class were there.
Is Penny recruiting any of those guys even?
I don't really know. He saw a few guys. He went and talked to a few guys. I could see him, but I'll be 100% honest with you. My brain wasn't in that mode. And so like, I really wasn't paying much attention to who he was talking to or who he was seeing. And also a part of it is I don't know any of these kids because I don't cover any of it.
Can I be honest? And you don't even have to say it. I feel like with Christian and I have talked about this before. Like you guys were in that space for so long that once 100%. You finally get out of it, you're like, you realize how happy you are to be out of it. That recruiting, following high schooler space, like that. It's just, and honestly, I think it's dissipated in the past few years with what you said off the top of the show. Like the transfer portal and everything else has taken over. Yeah. Like the proven talent, the proven names have taken over. So we don't really pay attention to even the number 1 recruits, number 2 recruits, top 10. We just sort of let it be. Let the chips fall as they may.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. I just love being in the gym. Like I love being in the gym. I love being able to watch basketball. So like it was really good basketball. So I never really got annoyed with having to go and watch these high school kids play when I covered, when I worked for a recruiting service. But I just don't anymore. And so it's like there's a lot of these kids. Like I had no clue that the number 1 player in the country was a kid named Tyron Stokes for 2026. He plays for the Oakland Soldiers. 6'8", 6'9", shooter, guard play, like just really good player. The big news was that he was coming. He had announced 2 weeks ago he wasn't playing AAU this season or this session, and then all of a sudden, boom, shows up. And so everybody was like, "Whoa, what the heck? Tyron Stokes is here!" And I'm like, "Who's Tyron?" I had to look him up. Like, let me find Tyron Stokes. Like, what does he look like?
What's your Wi-Fi password in this damn place?
Yeah. But shout out to the Memphis Sports and Events Center, man. That place is on fire, bro. They've got everything coming there. So it's such a cool arena. It's such a cool environment. Such a cool place that Memphis has to be able to bring all of these people in. From what I think Parth may have.
Oh, it's a massive tourism
like
thing.
$4.5 million in revenue in 3 days. Like just an unbelievable boom for the Memphis economy
that you don't even really think about. Until it actually is here for the weekend.
So really cool event.
That's a shit ton of players, a bunch of coaches from all over the country.
Apparently, there was not a single hotel room available in the city for those 2 nights.
It's wild to think about.
We just tells me we need more hotels in the city.
Yeah, probably. Probably so. I did my best. I haven't told you this. I did my best Christian Fowler impression this weekend.
Did you ever
out on Pickwick Lake in a crawfish boil, baby?
Oh my god!
Oh, we went to one of our good friends' 30th birthday parties.
Shout out!
And we're all 30 plus at this point. They tried to do a beer Olympics. It was as disastrous as you'd think. Getting done with the beer Olympics, it was fun.
I bet.
Very good.
We were out on the during,
but no, people. We didn't come close to finishing the quote unquote beer Olympics. It was not happening. I think most people on Saturday night were in bed by 10:30.
Yeah, they're like, dude, I got work in 48 hours.
We ain't built the same, man. You wake up at 8 the next morning to get some breakfast in you, and everybody's eyes are crusted over. You can't even talk to them. They're just so angry.
What are beer Olympics? What is the?
It's like you would do beer die and beer pong and all these different things for usually a prize at the end.
That's cool.
But we didn't even get through it. It was not possible. You can't do it. I mean, that's a turn 21 type thing, not a turn 30 type thing. It was a good effort though. It was a good effort.
Yeah, y'all tried.
You worked it out. All right, now. What's being efforted here in the city of Memphis heading into, the off season and as we sort of gear up for season is an exhibition with the help of St. Jude, just like last year. We know last year North Carolina played the men, South Carolina played the women at FedEx Forum. It was put on by St. Jude. I thought it was a good event.
Great event.
Obviously, it was on short notice. So I think considering the short notice and the amount of people that actually showed up, I think still a success. And it was on ESPN Plus and all that stuff. But they're doing the same thing this year, and there's a difference. John Calipari could make his return to the city, to FedEx Forum, and it would be his first game against Memphis since he left for Kentucky at the end of the 08-09 season. Wow. And I know there's some people that still have their hard feelings for Cal.
They got to get over that.
I've heard that less and less though over the years. I think people are just sort of letting that go, and I think it's better now that he's not in a Kentucky. He's not in Kentucky gear, he's in Arkansas gear. But the idea also behind this is that there's steam towards the idea that some former Memphis players that played under Cal could be honored, whether before the game, after the game, at halftime. I would love to see like a roundtable discussion with them. That would be phenomenal. Sort of like they do after the Grizzlies games when they've been retiring the core four. That would be really cool to have, CeeDee, Derrick Rose, Tone, Joey Dorsey, all those guys talking about that. That would be great. But I really love this idea, Kenny. I can see where people still have their holdups with John Calipari, but I feel like we're far enough removed. He's no longer in that Kentucky gear. I feel like this is a good time to do it. And I feel like even compared to last year's crowd, this would be a robust, awesome crowd if all of these things come together. And we talked about it last year. I sat down with Rick Shadyac and Penny last year around that time, talking about the St. Jude exhibition games that they held at FedEx Forum. And they want this to become a year-round or a yearly thing, an invitational during the season. So, they have their sights set past exhibitions.
Right.
They obviously have the gravitas to do that, but love this idea and love what it could spur.
Man, and from what I understand, sounds like John Calipari is putting that as a this has to happen for me to sign up my team to come to Memphis and play, right? Like this celebration of my time there, of my players that were there. And he, from what I understand, he's telling people it's not just that 2008 team, it's everyone. Yeah. Everyone needs to be invited back. Will Memphis do it? I don't know. I would suspect that they will effort it. I think that they will try. I would hope that they would try, because what a cool story. I mean, like, dude, that was such a great time in Memphis basketball, right? Yeah. Like, people can have hard thoughts and hard opinions.
We know how the end was.
We know how that went. We know how that went down. It's time. I think it might be time to move on past it at this point, right? Like, this is an opportunity, I think, especially with St. Jude being involved, to really cement that relationship, to really kind of, come alongside St. Jude and the two of the biggest entities in the entire city, Memphis Tigers and St. Jude, to come together. This is another opportunity for them to do that. to bring John Calipari in Arkansas adds a layer of intrigue, because let's not forget, it's not even just John Calipari. It's that Memphis versus Arkansas rivalry too, right? Like the rivalry between Memphis and Arkansas. I talked to my father about this past week, and he said straight up, there is not he hated Louisville, right? Like he hated Louisville. Obviously, when I was growing up, Cincinnati was a massive rival for Memphis as well in basketball. But John Calipari, Arkansas versus Memphis during that 1980s time period, there was so much heat there because of what Arkansas was doing. Nolan Richardson coming in and taking a bunch of players out of Memphis over to Fayetteville. And there was just this constant battle there. And so the idea of being able to not only then say we've got Louisville back on the schedule this year, a 6-year home and away, schedule, plus an exhibition with a former rival in Arkansas, with the head coach being a former Memphis head coach. Dude, the storylines are all there. And sounds like to me what Calipari is saying is, we will do it if you guys will do this.
He likes a party thrown for him.
He does.
That's ultimately what he would want.
Yeah.
But I will give him credit for this. He does try to recognize whatever school he's at. He tries to recognize former players. Yeah. And I've always appreciated him for that. And that's part of the reason behind his, saying we have to bring these guys back for me to get my team to do it, because he does want CDR to get a nice recognition if he decides to show up, Derrick Rose, all these guys. So I hope it happens. And here's another thing. If you still hold like the Calipari thing, to take it to heart, I guess is the best way of putting it. Just think about who this would be for. That's how you get by it. St. Jude.
Right.
Trying to cure children's cancer. I don't think we can. I don't think there's a better selling point in the world. And also, the idea behind these exhibitions the last 2 years has been to mold this into a tournament for the city of Memphis. Right. Not only would Memphis be the host team for a nice tournament in the city that they could potentially win in the out of conference that matters toward their record.
Yeah.
But think about the tourism dollars.
Right.
Think about the other teams, collapsing on Memphis, the calendar and the ESPN showing up, or CBS Sports, whatever it may be, the TV revenue you could generate. I think that, to me, is why I really want this to happen, because I think you would be able to show TV networks and otherwise how big it would be for the city of Memphis if you have this particular event. You would be able to probably, I don't know, what number would you settle on? 18,000 fit in FedEx Forum. What number, if this comes to fruition like John Calipari has it envisioned in his mind, what number do you think would show up to FedEx Forum? Because we have more time than we did last year, and we know that they're trying to bring former Memphis players that we all hold dear. I don't know, what, 12 to 14?
I would honestly expect a sellout. Truth be told, because we're also talking about Fayetteville being only 6 hours away.
Yeah, that's close too, instead of North Carolina and South Carolina.
And they travel well, right? And
that's a good point.
And so there's a part of it that I would suspect you'll have quite a few Arkansas fans here as well, which will be fun, because then Arkansas will have to show up to Memphis twice this year, right? Once for
But if you're being conservative, 14, 12, 14?
I'll go 14. I'll be conservative. I think
they should do more than enough for TV networks to say, okay, you guys got, there's something here.
Well, especially with it being kind of announced, John Calipari announcing it last week or 2 weeks ago. It feels like they're on this. They're actually announcing this and kind of getting out ahead of it a little bit earlier than they were last year.
Yeah.
Right. Which when you do these kinds of events, you kind of learn from the first time. Let's do it differently next.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rush job last year.
It was a rush job last year.
There was reasons behind that, though.
Yeah, absolutely, there are reasons. But yeah, I think that I think it could be a massive boom for the economy. I think it could be great for the city. I think it'd just be a celebration of two teams coming back together. I think John Calipari coming back, I think you'd celebrate him. I've got my own feelings about John Calipari as a head coach, but my feelings don't have anything to do with what happened in 2008, 2009. Right. Like, it just doesn't. Like, I think it's well past time to move on and celebrate that time period. My question to you is this: the names that we keep mentioning about who could come back, former players. We talk about that 2008 national championship game team: Derrick Rose, Chris Douglas Roberts, Joey Dorsey, Antonio, Robert Dozier, all those guys. What are some players from other teams that John Calipari had that you'd love to see back in the city? Like, would you like to see Andre Allen?
Of course.
Like,
absolutely.
Tyreek Evans.
Tyreek Evans for sure. Let's see if we can get him back here. That'd be fun as hell.
That'd be fun, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's just off the top of my head. Those are the guys that I feel like if we're celebrating a particular team, those would be the guys that would go.
Yeah.
But I think he wants to celebrate the entirety of his Memphis
he does
tenure.
It'd be cool. I hope Memphis makes it happen, man. Let's we're putting it out here on the Bluff and Bluff City Media. Let's make it happen. Let's do it.
And I can show up and talk to Rick and Penny again too before it happens. How about that?
Oh, I like it.
I'll promise that. As long as they promise it in return. See
if they want you back.
Now we do have some real games that are going to be played next year in the Baha Mar event. Tigers are going to be playing in the Bahamas from on November 20th and 21st. Now it's only a 4-person event, and I guess winner of both games plays in the championship, or however the hell it works. Losers play the losers. But it's Purdue and Wake. We knew that. Purdue and Wake Forest. They have told us also Texas Tech is going to be the fourth team in there. So really phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal field.
Like top 5 team in the country, Texas Tech.
And here in Purdue will be a what? Top 10? Top 10 probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And we did get this today from multiple sources. Purdue and Memphis are likely going to play no matter what. So they would likely be that first game. Talk about the schedule, man. I mean, I know that this one's in the Bahamas and you have to, spend some money to go over there and play, but I can't think of a more premier out-of-conference opponent that they don't play very often. How much intrigue could be around that game potentially. And we see that Memphis thrives in those situations. They beat a Big 10 team last year, and Michigan State. It's sort of that same time period at the Maui Invitational. Like I'm intrigued in that game. I'm intrigued, and I think it's contrasting styles too. Purdue's going to try. We know they very slow, methodical. They're going to try to put up some threes. Braden Smith is one of the premier guards in the country. Decided to go back to Purdue. Like that is a game that I would absolutely look forward to in the early out of conference slate.
It is crazy, man, how Penny just does not have any hesitancy.
No reservations about scheduling anyone.
To putting his team against the best teams in the country.
Isn't that insane, though, to a certain extent? It's like sometimes, if I really feel like a team's awesome, I wouldn't want to put myself in the line of fire to potentially lose something like that. But it's like the confidence level that emits from that guy when he schedules these things. It's like he does not duck a single team in the country.
Crazy.
At all, ever. Crazy. And I understand, at Memphis, you do have to strengthen your out-of-conference schedule so you can ultimately put together a good enough resume to be an at-large team because your conference sucks. But to not duck any of that smoke from anybody,
man,
from number 1 to number 366 in the country, it's insane to me. It's insane.
Yeah. Purdue is going to be getting Braden Smith back. They got Trey Kaufman-Renn back at the power forward. That guy is he's phenomenal. Then in the transfer portal, they got Oscar Clough, a kid from a 6'11" center from South Dakota State, who led the nation in defensive rebounding last year. I mean, averaged 17 points a game. Dude, Purdue is going to be awesome.
Hey, who's nice to have, though, in a matchup like that?
Who would that be?
A guy by the name of Doug McDaniel, who had to play Purdue year in, year out for 2 years when he was in Michigan.
I don't dislike that.
Yeah. That's something I was thinking about. I mean, he's got that Big Ten experience. He knows how Purdue wants to play. Yep. He's the guy who would have the ball in his hand most of the time. They've got some dudes to potentially go win that game, just like they did last year in multiple situations in the Maui Invitational.
Absolutely.
We'll just have to see how it comes together.
I love it, man. I think once again it is super exciting to see the schedule that Penny keeps producing in the non-conference, man. Just unafraid to put his team into harm's way, and they seem
really seriously does not give a shit. Whoever wants to play will play you. He doesn't get that same treatment in return, though.
He does
Talking
not.
to you, Rick Barnes.
Hello, Rick Barnes.
It's
Makes
nasty.
no sense.
Nasty
Nasty business by
around
Rick
the country.
Barnes.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but it'll be fun, man. The Baha Mar. I know they probably wanted to play in the Battle for Atlantis or a bigger tournament, whatever. But man, dude, Purdue, Texas Tech, and Wake
Texas Tech.
Forest.
Those are wins you can hang your hat on if you get them.
Those are quality
Great
wins.
data points.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
It'll be awesome. It'll be an awesome event. The early season for the Tigers is looking fun. Playing Arkansas in the exhibition, hopefully, and then playing in that Baha Mar. That's going to be a fun tournament.
All right, now NBA Combine was all last week, and I wanted to get to this just briefly. We don't have to spend too much time on it, although I think there's an interesting conversation to be had. PJ Haggerty participated in the NBA Combine and did well. Did not measure well at all. 6'2", sort of in that point guard size territory. Not overly athletic, just sort of regularly athletic. We know that about him. But when we got to the sort of three-point shooting portion, the open scrimmages, he did shine, Kenny. He looked really good. 18 for 25 in the three-point star drill, which was number 1 in the NBA Combine at three-pointer. That's something he has to work on. That's something that NBA scouts are looking for, and he passed that test. Then he gets into open scrimmages. In game 1, he dropped 16. Or 18, I believe, and 7 rebounds, 3 assists, turned the ball over a little bit, but got a win in that game. And then in game 2, 16, somewhere on 4 assists, hit a 3, and won that game as well. So sort of last I checked, just sort of looking at his combine scrimmage results, you had a lot of combine or NBA draft analysts saying, hey, he's moved himself up into the draft. Like he is a draft pick now, the late second round, that type of thing. So I'm going to ask this because before the NBA Combine, we thought this was an obvious decision. You come back for 1 or 2 more years, get $3 to $6 million. You should do that because you're probably not going to make that on an NBA contract. But considering how well he has done and the position he's put himself in the eyes of NBA scouts, I'm just going to ask this. Is this a way harder decision than it was when we talked about this 2 weeks ago?
I think that it makes the likelihood that PJ Haggerty stays in the draft higher. I think, right? Because if it's about if it's about getting better at basketball, if that's the main motivation, the NBA game and the college game are so different, and not in the mainly in the way that the games are officiated, the games are the rules around the game, how the game is played.
Defensive 3 second, there's halves instead of quarters, and it's ridiculous.
The games are just different. And so if you're trying to become the best NBA player that you can possibly become, the way you do that is in being developed in an NBA program, right? In a franchise, whether it's through playing on the 15-man or the 12-man, 15-man, 15-man roster, or if it's playing.
They do 12 for All-Star games, which I'll never understand.
That's right. Or if it's playing in the G League, you're gonna get better at basketball. So if that is PJ Haggerty's motivation, I think he's proving that he deserves or fits or could play in that model, right? Like in that game, he can play. He's doing well. I think we're seeing things that the things that plagued him at Memphis last year are still the things that are going to plague him in the NBA, right? Turnovers are going to be a big deal. Playmaking is going to be a big deal. The physical abilities, the athleticism that he, he's not a great rebounder for a
can he play defense?
Guard. Can he play defense? All those things those are all things that we already know about him and that are going to be the same way in the NBA if he decides to stay. But he's going to get better if he stays in the NBA draft. If he gets picked up, if he gets a 2-way contract, if he stays in the G League, if he gets on a roster, he's going to be a better player at the end of all of this. If he decides to stay in. The question is his motivation about basketball, or is it about making as much money as possible?
Yeah. I'll I'll say this. I think he's played himself into a tougher decision. There's no doubt. Like before the NBA Combine, before the scrimmages, quite frankly, I would have said, just go back to college. Stop fooling yourself. But either way, he played so well in the NBA Combine that I think there's two ways to look at this. One would be how I still look at it, and you probably still look at it. Brother, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't go back to college and make the money that you can make there.
Right.
Because I just, if I'm being honest with myself about PJ Haggerty, I'm not PJ Haggerty. I'm not his agent. I'm not his dad. I like my level of confidence about him getting a contract in the NBA that would ever match the $3 to $6 million he would make for 2 more years in college basketball. I don't think he'll ever get that. That's just me. That's just me. And I could be wrong. He's a gamer. Sometimes guys like him just find a way by hook or by crook. They figure it out and they start to hoop at every level because they're built that way. Once the lights start shining, they hoop. So that's how I still feel, is like, I feel like he should come back to college at NC State or whatever. Cause it's like, you know, you're going to make more money here than you ever will in the NBA. That's how I feel. But for him, let's be honest about every player that's in the NBA draft combine right now. Their end goal is to be an NBA player.
Right.
So for them, the decision becomes a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to chase the bag, but I also want to give myself the best shot to get an NBA contract at some time in my life.
Yeah.
Sometime in my career. I think you could make the argument based on what we saw last year, him shoot around 38% from three, second team All-American, hoop in the NBA Combine, really show them that he's a gamer. I do think this could be potentially the highest his draft stock ever is, because of the season he had, because of how he's playing in the pre-draft process, because you come back, you're a year older. Historically, that has not been a good thing for NBA draft prospects. And also, if you come back, there's no guarantee you're going to shoot another 38% from three. Like, that's just, if history's told us anything about PJ Haggerty, that was an outlier year, although maybe he's gotten better there. So that's the other way to look at it, is through PJ's mind, or PJ's, standing in PJ's shoes, his dad's shoes, his agent's shoes. His ultimate goal is to be an NBA player.
Right.
And you do have to strike while the iron is hottest. Not while the iron's hot, when it's hottest for you. And I think this may be that moment for him.
So what you're saying,
it's so tough to gauge, though, how to separate his confidence in himself from his ability to make money if he comes back to college. It's hard to really feel that out from the outside.
Can I play devil's advocate with you for 1 second? And I'm gonna give you a response to what you just said. But Gabe, if he comes back to college next year, he could play well enough to where his draft stock would increase.
Oh God.
So maybe next year he gets invited to the combine and he's a potential first round draft pick because of how well he played in college.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Let me hear. I'll hear that.
Okay.
But let's also get through the facts here. Unanimous All-American, 22 points per game, top 5 in the country, 38% from three when he shot 28% from three the year before.
Right.
He's still not going to play point guard wherever he goes in college.
Right.
No, listen, I would say to that person, yes, that's possible. But let me ask you this question in response. What's more possible? What's more realistic? That he comes back, gets a year older, maybe has the same stats or a little lesser, and hurts his draft stock, or he helps it in the way that you're talking about? What's more likely? I think it's way more likely that he would hurt his draft stock by being a year older and not improving upon the stats that were astronomically high this year. That's how I feel. I think if you're being pragmatic about the entire situation, it's a lot more likely he'd hurt himself in these conversations than help himself.
Well, last year, let's not forget, we're sitting here and we're saying, PJ Haggerty was an elite college basketball player last year.
Yes.
He was the unanimous All-American, second team All-American across the board, was phenomenal. Top 5 in the country in scoring.
Efficient as he's ever been in his career.
The best player on a team that was in the top 25 pretty much the entire year.
Yeah.
Right? Who won the conference tournament, who won the conference regular season, was the best player for that team. So I guess my question to you is like the things that we are sitting here saying about PJ Haggerty and his opportunity to play in the NBA are not like, these are like small little tweaks and changes to his game that really only being in the NBA will really impact that, right? Like, because the games are so different, college basketball and NBA basketball, they're so different. You only kind of fix those things when you're in that environment, right? Like you're going to fall back on the things that you've done. And let's not to say that the things that he did last year weren't phenomenal. Basically what you're saying is, if you're saying that he could do certain things and raise his draft stock, is he's going to have to be a unanimous first team All-American player next year.
Correct. And he's going to have to average 7 assists and less turnovers. And he's going to have to be one of the best on-ball perimeter defenders for his team. If he ever wanted to get to like that first round grade, those are the things he'd have to do, because he's also getting a year older at the same time. You have to weigh that against. That's ultimately a negative in NBA draft circles.
It feels like to me, you're describing an NBA 2K player, like a creative player when you say something like that, right? Like, and that's okay. Like if that's what,
that's a great point. If you want him to come back to improve his stock, you're going to have to ask him to be a player that he hasn't been already,
or that's really not like who out there is that guy, right? Like who else is out there that is that guy? Could he be that guy? Absolutely. I do feel like there are things that he could do differently. I think Penny could put him in positions that would make him be a better player in a lot of different ways. But if you were saying that he has to come back to college to raise his draft stock, I just think you're kind of missing really to come back to college means I'm going to cash in on what I did.
That's why you come back to college. It's not to take a chance to get yourself better in the eyes of the NBA draft.
I think he is where he is at this. I think he is where he's going to be in the eyes of scouts.
Sure.
Unless he has a really awful season.
I do think he could hurt himself, though. I think it's more likely, based on where he's at right now, as this late second round pick. I think coming back, he's more likely to hurt his stock than help it.
I don't think that's an unfair. I don't think that's an unfair statement.
But coming back also has the positive of cashing in on all the work you've done so far in your career. So
that's again back to my point at the beginning of all this conversation: is what is his motivation? Is his motivation to cash in right now, or is this motivation to be the best basketball player he can possibly be? That's the question you have to ask yourself about where PJ Haggerty is.
We'll see here in the next week or so.
We'll know.
When's the deadline to pull yourself out of the NBA draft?
I think it might be May 28th. I think
Hey, hold up. We have smartphones, man. We can figure this out. 8 days. So it's not long after the NBA draft combine. Point being,
right? No, it's not long at all. So I think NBA draft
April 26th.
No,
that's to get into it. Sorry, I'm wrong. I was way off.
June 15th. No.
June 15th. So okay, he's got nearly a month to make this decision. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see in the next month.
Sure. It'll be interesting. It just depends on what his motivation is. And honestly, you can't hate on him for whatever choice he makes, right? Like, do I cash in on what I've done the previous 2 years?
I would have questions if he stays in the NBA draft personally, but like I also, from a competitor standpoint and from an end goal, I want to be a pro standpoint. You kind of have to at least give him some understanding there.
100%.
All right, now we have the hot three on the way. Kenny's gonna run it. So we'll go ahead and grab a break. We'll come back and do that.
And people are just leading the conversation with, oh man, just the luck and the 1% ball. And everybody's just like, bro, cut the shit, bro. Like, this is the most rigged bullshit I've ever seen in the history of the NBA lottery, bro. But every year that it's been a major guy, like a big name dude who's coming out number one, it's been fun. It's been this weird coincidence that y'all speak of. Y'all cannot tell me of a regular ass year where it felt like it wasn't weird. Like, that's the thing. That's to the people who kick back and say, oh no way it is real. It's all coincidence. Okay, so you tell me it's a coincidence every time? When now in today's NBA, LeBron's out the door, Steph's out the door, KD's out the door. I've got to get a Luka Doncic type player out of Dallas and get him to LA, because even though these other teams are great teams, I got to do something to keep LA. And that's why Nico Harrison been talking plenty of shit, because he knew they're going to take care of me one way or another.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What do you think the Kings? The Kings are in a very interesting situation because they've already got weird. I see you, Edward. Yeah, I'm with that. Yep.
Yeah. I think like Domantas Sabonis is going to command so much from a team that needs rebounding, the Memphis Grizzlies. And you can get some picks and some young players from the Memphis Grizzlies to reboot this team and make them younger and play better for the Memphis Grizzlies. And it's time to reboot, hit reset, and trade Domantas Sabonis to the Memphis Grizzlies.
I'm with you. I don't know what's bigger than a reboot, like a nuclear explode. Like, I think they need to go back to the drawing board, which is really unfortunate. So close after Light the Beam, and a big way to reboot would be to, I don't know, trade Sabonis and Keegan Murray to the Memphis Grizzlies, like you said.
Perfect. Catching the vision.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with your host, Luke Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Hey, let me get back over here. What's up, man? We're back with the hot three. What do you think? Is the NBA draft lottery rigged? What do you think?
I will say, to Sane's point, man, too many damn coincidences. Every time the Lakers end up with a good player that is traded away from a certain franchise, that franchise gets the number one overall pick. We saw it with the Pelicans when they traded AD.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm not going to go full like it's 100% rigged, but you can't tell me all these coincidences happen at once. The NBA has to protect their product. Don't forget that. And the end of the day, and David Stern was always big on protecting his product.
Yes, he was.
And also worth mentioning, LeBron himself was on Pat McAfee not but 2 months ago, making some sort of pointed comments that he didn't think it was a coincidence he ended up in Cleveland. And I don't think it was either. And I don't think it was a coincidence that Derrick Rose ended up in Chicago. I don't think it was a coincidence that Patrick Ewing ended up in New York. I don't think it was a coincidence that Victor Wembanyama ended up perfectly with the Spurs. I don't think any of these things are full coincidences.
I don't think it's a coincidence that New Orleans and Memphis got the number 1 and number 2 draft pick in 2019.
Yeah. Well,
because what was going on during
Pelicans was right after AD got traded midseason to the Lakers. Right.
And what was going on the season before that? What's his name? Adam Silver was talking about expansion, right?
Yeah.
And
so they have to strengthen the small markets.
Strengthen the small markets. So what do? They give New Orleans and Memphis superstars.
Listen, man, I don't like being it's.
I know you don't want to be
that guy. I love the NBA reporters that are like, "Oh, there's just no way." I've been in the room.
I was in the room.
I'm like, well, they don't do the ping pong balls in front. The NHL lottery. Know how I know it can't be rigged. They do the ping pong balls on the telecast,
right?
With the NBA lottery, draft lottery, we never see the ping pong balls come through the machine. We just we hear that they do it.
We trust it,
and we trust that they have the right order of things.
You just never see any multi-billion-dollar companies, leagues, whatever, that ever leave anything to chance.
Yes,
right. Like,
right.
And so I just it just seems odd to me that we would then go, well, then the NBA is clearly doing all this by chance. How does Cleveland get LeBron, and then a few years later he decides to leave and go to Miami to form the Heatles, and then Cleveland for the next 3 years
they got Kyrie.
3 out of the 4 years they get Kyrie, Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins.
Yes, and then remember the last year we were talking about, okay, LeBron's Heat contract's about to run out. He may go back to Cleveland.
Right.
And they needed one more piece to be able to trade to bring in LeBron, and they got another number 1 overall pick. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like, and I hate when people are like, Nick Wright did this bullshit. It makes me so angry. I can always tell who's the smart people and who are the dumb people by who thinks the NBA draft lottery is rigged. You're telling me that people can't call a spade and have their questions about it? We've had this many damn coincidences.
Right.
Like, don't be that like.
Don't be that guy.
Talk down on people.
Yeah.
Because they feel a certain way about what they see. Okay.
Makes no sense.
That is one of my pet peeves when people. Oh, you're a dumbass if you think it's rigged. No, shut up. Stop. They can believe what they want to believe.
Number one, there's just too many coincidences, right? Like I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big believer in coincidences. I just, especially when they happen, as Anthony said it in that clip. Whenever there's a big name player, there's always some real weird stuff that happens, and you're just like, what is going on here? What is going on? But anyway,
100%.
Let's get to the let's move on from the draft lottery to the NBA Conference Finals are here. We got some interesting matchups. We got Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Minnesota Timberwolves in the West, and in the East we have the New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. Again, we had that whole situation with Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson at WWE. Did the WWE know something was going on?
Is that a coincidence?
Is that a coincidence?
I'm just kidding.
Is it rigged? What's going on here? What do you think about these matchups? I think these are fun matchups.
Let me get this off the top. Which matchup are you more interested in? I have one. I don't even think it's close, Kenny, personally. I'm taking Knicks Pacers every day, twice on Sunday.
Because I think that feels like real basketball to me. Like I feel like that's going to be,
And I think the Thunder are a tough matchup for the Timberwolves, even though I saw them play a couple times down the stretch of the season.
Yeah.
And the Timberwolves played pretty well against the Thunder, kept it close, did all that. But think about the series the Thunder are coming off of.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, like these. It's a big team, and you have to be big-bodied, and you have to throw these different things out there. You have to deal with some size. I look at the Timberwolves, and really what they get by with is size and athleticism.
Right.
So I feel like the way the Thunder had to deal with Jokic for 7 games is a good lead-in to dealing with Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Even though Julius Randle's playing so well. 24 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. But even according to Vegas, like this is a pretty lopsided series margin. Like I think the Thunder are going to win it in probably 6. That's my guess. The Knicks Pacers, though, I mean, just contrasting styles. The 2 most clutch players in this NBA playoffs in Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton. 2 teams that are resilient as hell. Both of them have multiple 20-point comebacks in these playoffs. And the Pacers go up and down the floor as fast as humanly possible. The Knicks try to slow it down, play half-court offense, find a good shot. I think the Knicks could potentially have a nice little physical edge with OG and Josh Hart and McHale and Karl Anthony Towns. But at the same time, it's not like the Pacers can't play that style every once in a while. Miles Turner can get with you. Pascal Siakam can get with you on that. Tyrese Halliburton's a pretty decent perimeter defender. Like Aaron Nesmith is one of the best perimeter defenders in the series.
Yes.
So, and they're deep as hell, the Pacers are. So this to me is going to be so fun to watch. And I could absolutely see this being 7 games. And I think the biggest thing that gives me hope about this series, where you're not going to have a whole bunch of blowouts back and forth, both these teams have been phenomenal in fourth quarters. And they have found a way to always keep games at least relatively tight.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that Eastern Conference series. But something worth pointing out, Kenny, we are guaranteed to have a 7th different champion in as many years.
It's so crazy. It's so
we
crazy.
only have 2 championships combined between these 4 teams. Both of them were won by the New York Knicks, the last of which was in 73. So we're going to have a team winning a championship for the first time in at least 52 years. That's awesome. And it highlights the challenges, but also the successes of the new CBA that was drawn up and signed, ratified a couple of years ago. Adam Silver and the NBA wanted parity, and I will tell you this right now. I don't think we have seen parity like this in NBA history. We really, they have, whatever they set out to accomplish, they accomplished. We can debate back and forth how oppressive that CBA is, how annoying it is, how it punishes teams that are great for keeping talent and trying to keep and retain the guys that they have. But in the end of the day, They set out to get parity, and by God, they found it.
Yeah. No, it is. I love that we are going to have a new champion this year. I think that it is really cool, especially in the Eastern Conference, that you have these two iconic franchises in Indiana versus New York. I just think
used to playing each other in the
they're
playoffs,
used to playing each other. I just remember growing up and seeing those two franchises playing just wars against each other, right? Like it's gonna be so much fun. I wonder, I guess my question to you is superstars win matchups. Which team has the best superstar?
I don't think superstars win matchups anymore.
I do.
I don't think they do. Otherwise, Nikola Jokic would have beat the Thunder.
Well, I mean, injuries play a part in that, right?
I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, the get over the top pieces are now role players, not all stars.
Okay. I like that.
That's how I feel.
I like what you're saying there. I don't think I disagree with you at all. Keep going.
Otherwise, the Celtics, and I know they had the injuries, Celtics would have ran through again. They have such good top-end talent, all-stars littered throughout their starting lineup, 4 all-stars in their starting lineup. So I don't know. I think I disagree with you fundamentally on that. I don't think in today's day and age, superstars are the ones fully swaying entire series at this point in the game. Once you get to the second round of the NBA playoffs into the conference finals, I think it's about how well is the team built. Okay. It's a test of how well did the GM operate this offseason. That's what it is to me at this point.
So then I'll turn the question around. Then I'll meet you where you're at. Which team has the best role players that's gonna impact these series?
I would say Thunder, but I think they've shrunk at times when they're like because they're so young. Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Caruso's been good because he's been here before. But like I would have going into the playoffs told you the Thunder, but I think what we've seen
could it be the
for 2 rounds? People are gonna do with this what you will. I think the most consistent role players have been the Pacers.
Wow,
right?
Yeah,
Andrew Nembhard, Miles Turner's been awesome. Pascal's been rolling. Aaron Nesmith has been one of the best players on that entire team. TJ McConnell's always a bulldog when he comes off the bench.
It's fun.
Benedict Mathurin averaging right around 15 points per game in these playoffs.
Right.
Like, I think if I'm being honest, I would say Thunder have like the best alternative role-playing pieces, but they have not played as well as the Pacers role pieces have in these playoffs. Now, granted, Eastern-Western Conference, different challenges. Western Conference is harder, so that's part of it. But this is going to be really, really fun.
I think so too. Who do you have coming out of that Western Conference finals?
I'm taking the Thunder, and I'm taking the New York Knicks. Is what I'm.
Oh, you got the Knicks?
Yeah,
really.
I'm going to take the Knicks.
I would have for sure thought you would have gone Pacers.
I think the Knicks being at home in MSG, I think that matters.
Ooh.
And I also think they built this roster to take advantage of 1 or 2 years. So maybe you could view it as the pressure's fully squarely on their back. But I thought it was that way against the Celtics because this team was put together to just beat the Celtics. When they got Karl-Anthony Towns and signed OG and brought in McHale. I just feel like they've played really well with the pressure on their shoulders.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go New York Knicks. And I think that's what the NBA would want.
I think so too.
NBA does not want Pacers, Timberwolves. They don't want that, man. They don't want that. They want as much star power and city power as they can get. So I would imagine that Adam Silver's crossing his fingers that the Knicks can get into the NBA Finals.
Man, that'd be so much fun. And how crazy would it be if Karl-Anthony Towns is the key to make that happen, right? For all the stuff that he's went through in Minnesota, for all of the nonsense, like it feels like he has settled into a role where this is not his team. And it should have been that way for multiple years prior at Minnesota. It should have been Anthony Edwards' team, and it wasn't. It was Karl-Anthony Towns' team. But it feels like he's moved from Minnesota to the New York Knicks, a much larger franchise, much more high-profile situation, and feels more comfortable there because he doesn't have to be the guy.
I have an interesting question that I want to ask you before we move on.
Okay.
given the CBA as restrictive as it is, given that teams have to blow it up and lose their star role players after certain years because they can't afford their roster anymore with the new CBA, given that we've had 7 champions in the last 7 years, that's the tied for the longest stretch in NBA history with different champions in successive years. I want to ask you, with this era, how much more does one championship mean than it did in the past? Nikola Jokic has won. Giannis has won. Like, we're used to dynastic runs, the Bulls in the 90s, the Warriors in the early 2010s, the Lakers in the early 2000s. Like, we're used to those dynastic runs. But as we continue to go forward, the NBA clearly wants less and less of that. And they've made sure that you're going to have less and less of that. How much more weighted is one championship? We've always talked about LeBron and his 4 catching Jordan at 6 and catching Kobe at 5 and Bill Russell as 11. Given that it feels like that type of thing is starting to push its way out, that one championship, does it mean more than it ever has? That's something I've been, because it goes back and forth.
I mean, if you're talking about players, I would say every championship means a lot,
sure,
right? But if you're talking about as a global NBA / fans of the NBA, of the product, as a fan of as legitimately a fan of a small market team, that one, it feels like sets you up for, like, I'm good for the rest of time, right? Like, we won our championship, right?
But also player to player, right?
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic, for example, he's been the best player in the world for, I'd say, the minimum past 4 years, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
He's only got one championship, and it looks like if he's going to be in a Nuggets uniform, that's all he's going to get.
Yeah.
They've had to move off of Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. And who else am I KCP.
Yeah.
They're talking about potentially having to pay Christian Brown $30 million per. I saw Bobby Marks say that.
Oof.
So they're gonna have to keep moving this thing around. Like, that one championship, does that keep him from continuing to build that triple-double legacy and winning legacy and getting into top 10 conversation all time, just because he only has one and all these other guys around him would have 2, 3, 4 from yesteryear?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, does it change the conversation about, like, where your place is historically?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like, does it change that conversation? And
is it fair to be like, oh, well, he only has one championship, this guy has 4, this guy has to automatically be ahead of him in this conversation? Like, I feel like the weight that I'm putting on the championships at this particular moment is more than I have in my entire life.
Well, I mean, you think about it this way, right? Like, the last dynasty in the NBA was the Golden State Warriors. Who's a better player? Who would you rank higher in the history of the NBA? Nikola Jokic or Klay Thompson? Right? Like
right, okay.
Clay's
that's a little different.
It's a little bit different, right? Like, it might not be, it's not apples to apples, but it's like
also that goes to my point. You could not do what the Warriors did.
Right.
You couldn't. Kevin Durant with all his money, Clay with all his money, Dre with all his money, Steph with all his money, Andre Iguodala had a decent contract.
Right.
You couldn't do that now. Like, those days are over. You can't hoard talent. You can't send it all to big cities. It has to be spread out.
So just interesting.
Something to think on.
Oh, and especially with these 4 teams, right? Like, you've got New York, obviously a big market team. Would you consider Minnesota to be a big market team, or are they medium size? Oklahoma City, small market. I would consider Indiana.
Indianapolis is a small market for sure.
Indianapolis is Indiana's a legacy franchise, but they're a small market, right? Like, they've been around for a long time. They've got a lot of history, but in terms of, like, where they stand in today's NBA market size, they're a small market team. Yeah, man, it's when one of them win it this year, it is going to be, especially if it's one of those 3 small market teams that we've talked about. I mean, obviously New York being New York, but man, but it feels like to me, New York is almost, they have the look of a small market team, right? Like, they have you know what I'm saying? Like they don't have
until
like
you see MSG rocking
but
during
Jalen
game
Brunson,
6 or
Jalen
game
Brunson's not a guy that you go
game 6.
like who's gonna put Jalen Brunson in those like top 10 conversations in the NBA? Like he should be in there, right? Like he's not some like massive superstar like a Kevin Durant to New York Knicks or Kobe Bryant to the New York Knicks. It's not a LeBron James to the New York Knicks.
I don't know what you're saying.
Jalen Brunson, right? Like he was a backup point guard on the Dallas Mavericks before he came to New York. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just wild to me,
I know
man.
What you
like
mean.
So they're a big market team, but they have the roster is made up of dudes who are like really, 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 really good, but are not like these massive stars.
Want to hear a funny thing about the Knicks being in this spot? Last time was 2000 when they were in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Rick Brunson was on that team.
So crazy.
His dad, who's now on the coaching staff.
So crazy.
Something weird to think about.
I love it. I cannot wait. They start tonight. I cannot wait for these conference finals. I think it's going to be really a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I think Oklahoma City will roll through Minnesota quickly. I'm super excited to see what this New York Knicks Indiana Pacers series looks like. I wouldn't be upset either way.
You got to pick two.
Oh God,
I picked Knicks.
I'm gonna go Knicks too because I think they have, as much as you think role players play a matter in this. I do think they are going to have the two best players on the court every game, in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah. So, fair. I give it to them. But all right, next up, we got all the talking heads are bringing out their top 10s now. Let's go. Joel Klatt came out this week with the top 10 quarterbacks in college football this year. I want to run down the list for you, see what you think. Number one, the guy that has been mentioned quite a bit on this podcast, I think 2 years ago. Not to say that this is anything abnormal. Christian doesn't like anybody, but he does not. He did not like Cade Klubnik. But Joel Klatt has him as the number one quarterback in college football, with Arch Manning behind him, John Mateer, Sam Levitt, Drew Alar, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Lagway, Lenora Sellers, Luke Altmaier, Carson Beck, rounding out the top 10. What are your thoughts, man? What's the state of college football play or college quarterback play? Is it good? Is it bad?
This is such an interesting college football quarterback crop to me. And I say that because the proven guys, are you really that invested in them, or do you already know who they are and you feel like there's a limit? The guys I'll mention: Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck. Like, you sort of know what those guys are.
Yeah. So is it kind of a safe pick? Is it kind of a safe pick? Yeah,
but also mixed in with those guys are these just like
dynamic
guys who could come along and be the Heisman this year.
Right. Arch
Manning is not proven at all, yet he's listed as a number one overall draft pick. DJ Lagway was awesome in Florida last year, and he's 6'5" with a rocket arm and can run. Lenora Sellers with South Carolina, if he can really start throwing the ball well, oh my gosh, sky's the limit for him. I know who I like. Dante Moore at Oregon.
Yeah,
that's a guy I pay attention to. Former 5-star, didn't really have a shot at UCLA, but he's moved on to Oregon, and we've seen Oregon, Will Stein, Dan Lanning. They have not had a bad quarterback yet. I mean, it went straight from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel. So if they're trusting Dante Moore with that offense, you should feel pretty confident about what they're going to put out. But like, you have this mix of normal sort of proven guys and these like rock star freshmen that you're like, they could pop and they could be unreasonably good. I think the thing that intrigues me about this quarterback crop is how unknown it is, but how much potential it does have.
Man, dude, right? Like, we kind of know what we're gonna get with some of these guys, right? Like Cade Klubnik, what's the other? The Nussmeier kid from LSU, like Drew Alar. We know we know what we're gonna get with them, but it's those other guys, man.
It's Arch. Is Sam Levitt going to be able to do it again? Is DJ Lagway going to be that guy? Is Lenore Sellers going to step up? How about this? John Mateer at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He was awesome at Washington State. Can he go to Oklahoma? And Jade Knott's the running back from Cal. He's a 1,300-yard guy. Like, how much better is Oklahoma going to be? And John Mateer's he can use his legs a little bit too. He's a very exciting player. What's that look like?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, when I look at his list, Joel Klatt's list, I don't mind it.
Would you put Arch at number 2? Would you put Arch at number 2? Completely unproven, but he did well when he played.
I gotta be honest with you, Kenny. I could rationalize him at number 1. Okay. I really could. I could find a way to put him at number 1 because of the brain trust. He's been there for 2 years in that offense.
Right.
He was really good when he played. He's got legs. He's got a good arm. He's very accurate. He does everything. Like, he's already the starter.
Can he do it game in, snap in, down every down in the SEC? Can he do it for an entire year?
I mean, that's the question. But like, I really of unproven, as unproven quarterbacks go, he's the most proven of the unproven quarterbacks I've seen in years. Like, you feel confident about what that kid's gonna bring you.
What about DJ?
The family?
Is it the family though?
Showed you?
That's what I was gonna ask you. Yeah, it's got to be. Is the name Manning? Does that sway you?
I think it sways everybody. Yeah, okay. To be honest with you, because he's also a different type of Manning, right? Like, he's got the arm talent that the other Mannings did, but he also is athletic and can run a little bit. So it's like, when you add that on top of it, that's why I don't think it's a surprise he has almost how do I put it? It's like he almost in his young football career has the highest expectations of any of them.
Yes. 100%.
Which is kind of crazy considering we're talking about 2 Hall of Famers.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree totally. I think the pressure on him this year is absurd. Not only to keep Texas in the top, 5, whatever, in the, to be at the top of the SEC again, but also having to withstand the pressure of being a Manning. Like, that's got to be so tough. My question to you, would you be surprised if we look up at the end of the college football season and DJ Lagway is the best quarterback in the SEC?
I think he's the biggest wild card. I think he could be like the guy that no one has said this. I think I'm unique to this.
Okay.
I think he's the type of guy, if you're looking for one guy to potentially take over an Arch Manning or a Garrett Nussmeier, any of those guys as a number 1 overall draft pick, that's the guy you look at. And obviously, I don't think he's eligible until 2027.
Right. He's going to be a true sophomore.
So, so that's it. But if you're looking for a guy this year who can raise that NFL draft stock to just fever pitch,
right,
he's the guy you need to look at. He's the guy who, if he has a good year this year, becomes the immediate Heisman favorite next year.
I agree.
And because he's so exciting. I mean, he's got 4.5 speed with a cannon arm.
One of the craziest arms I've seen.
It's a pretty quick release.
Yes.
I mean, he's such an interesting prospect to me.
He is so interesting to me too, because you're right. He's got that speed, but dude, when he just flicks his wrist and that ball is just on a rocket,
on a rope, frozen rope. Every time.
Crazy. I wonder.
He's got one of the best deep balls. I'll say this: I think he's got one of the best deep balls in the SEC right now.
Wow.
Like right now.
Wow. That'll be interesting to see. I think we talked about this a little bit before the show. Is Garrett Nussmeier your pick next year? Is he the best quarterback coming out in the draft next year, you think?
Oh,
I mean, he looks like the most NFL guy,
yeah. Right? If I'm picking based on film, right now, it's Garrett Nussmeier would be my top quarterback.
Right.
But again, this class is weird in that fact.
What if it's Arch?
You don't need all the experience because Arch Manning's out there. Like,
what if it's Arch?
It could be Lenora Sellers if he starts slinging the ball around the yard. Who knows what happens with him? Like,
right.
If you're asking me to pick who the most NFL ready quarterback is, as we sit here on May 20th,
right,
I'm going to pick Garrett Nussmeier, but I'm not confident that that's going to hold. I'm not very confident in that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's interesting. All right, let's get to the NFL for the last topic. The schedules were released this week. You've had some thoughts on X. I really appreciated some of your thoughts about the schedule, but what were some of the big takeaways that you saw in the schedule release that happened this week?
Well, the Commanders are out there. They have 8 standalone games. That ties the Chiefs. So they really believe in the Commanders. That's cool. They keep sending the Vikings overseas. I guess they're tired of sending the Jags over there. So they're like, you know what? We're going to give you guys the Vikings. Maybe you'll become Vikings fans. They're going to Dublin and to London.
Wow.
So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. And I want to see, when we talk about tough schedules, one of the teams that's been a wild card for me to like get through is the Vikings.
Yeah.
Because I'll mention them here in a second when I'm talking about one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. And it's like I don't know really what to think moving off of Sam Darnold and on to J.J. McCarthy. Because I have confidence that Kevin O'Connell will get them going. But I don't know, how much of a drop-off from 14 wins is that?
But he was going to be the guy until he got hurt last year, though. They came into the season with J.J. McCarthy as their guy.
Again, it's just hard to project that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really hard to project that stuff. All right, now, my takeaways. 49ers, look at me in the eyes. If you don't win 10 games,
come on, man,
blow everything up. I know you
no.
just signed all these guys, and Brock Purdy got $53 million a year.
Is that a cool contract to you? What do you think?
I don't like it, but hey, I mean,
what did y'all say? What did y'all say about? We had a quarterback discussion last year. You got to do it.
Here's my thing, man. It's like Brock Purdy doesn't elevate.
Right.
He gets elevated.
Right.
As soon as all of his all-star teammates, Pro Bowl teammates got hurt last year, they won 6 games and he threw 12 interceptions. George Kittle was hurt, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL, Chris McCaffrey's out the whole year, and he didn't elevate shit around him.
Nope.
They won 6 games. But by God, when those guys are in there, he'll win 14. He can get you to a Super Bowl then. But it's like, if I'm paying a guy $50+ million, I want him to be able to elevate my team every once in a while. I don't think Brock Purdy does that at a high enough level. But their schedule, here's their crossovers, okay? They're crossovers that aren't division games. Tell me when you see a loss, right?
Okay.
New Orleans Saints.
Definitely winning that game.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Winning that game.
I mean, that's a heck of a start. Atlanta Falcons.
Winning that game.
This one's a little more interesting. Houston Texans.
I mean,
okay. 3-1. Let's
be tough on them.
And just say that's a loss. New York Giants.
Win.
4-1 crossover. Carolina Panthers.
Win.
Cleveland Browns.
Hey, if Shedeur Sanders is starting for them, they might win.
But Cleveland Browns. Tennessee Titans.
Win.
Indianapolis Colts.
I don't know, man. Indianapolis,
Whatever.
you never know.
Okay.
You never know.
This is also week 16. So week 16, usually the Colts are just dead and gone.
That's a good point.
We're talking about a team who's going to start either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Let's please not act like,
Indianapolis,
the Colts are sneaky. Well, I don't give a damn if
they're always sneaky, bro.
I don't care if they're sneaky, man. You're starting Anthony Richardson or Daniel. But you see you get the trend there.
Yeah.
Their crossover games are the simplest in the NFL. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL. Win 10 games. Now there's a schedule I have to point out, and I'm honestly sad Christian couldn't be here for this.
Oh, I know. I wish we could talk about this with him.
I just being fully transparent. Even after the George Pickens news and just sort of looking at this Cowboys team, top to bottom in their roster, I counted through their schedule, which is so hard. And I counted at most 7 wins. Now, they better rack up about, 85% of their win total in the first, let's see, week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11. Through the first 11 weeks, they better rack up as many wins as possible because listen to this. Week 12 to week 17. Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders. From week 12 to week 17. So just to go through the numbers,
that is not nice. That is
you
not
start
nice.
from week 12 and week 13. is against last year's Super Bowl matchup, back-to-back weeks. That's 4 straight games, Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, against 14-plus game winners from last year.
Whew.
The whole 6-week stretch is against 11-plus game winners from last year. And again, the whole 6-game stretch is against playoff teams from last year.
That's brutal.
So I saw this in a CBS Sports article. This is the first time in NFL history that anyone has played 6 straight 11-plus win teams in a row in their schedule. I counted, and I'm trying to be fair, I counted 7 wins. I counted 7 and 10. And honestly, if they go 7 and 10, I think it's a situation where roster's not bad. I think they're a solid team, but your schedule's just so bad, or it's so tough that it's not going to show in your win-loss column.
So CeeDee Lamb came out this week and said basically there is no 1 and 2 in the wide receiver room. It's ones. Me and George Pickens. You see that? You see that love lasting all year?
That's what I'm saying, Kenny. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, great question. I don't know if I see that love lasting all that long.
Someone's gonna get pissed off.
CeeDee ain't gonna be mad. CeeDee is gonna get 150 targets.
Right.
George Pickens is gonna be the one that wants to smack the shit out of somebody by mid-season. If Dak does not feed him, but it's like, dude, you have to run better routes. You have to do something besides run a freaking 9 route streak. So we'll see. We'll see how that works.
I mean, Dak needs help. He needed some options, but is George Pickens the one? Like, I don't know, man. That he's a great wide receiver, but dude, that's gonna be a soap opera.
And also, before we roll, I have 2 more things, and we can be really quick. Derek Carr retired. Yeah, that's great. And then the other thing, is there any coach in the NFL who has had more of a 180 turnaround than Nick Sirianni?
Oh, dude.
You got a multi-year extension today from the Eagles to be a top 5 paid head coach.
I remember in the middle of the NFL season last year, you said someone has to be the adult in the room because Nick Sirianni is not. Do you retract that statement?
No, I don't, because Jalen Hurts is the grown-up in the room still.
Okay.
But I also think Nick Sirianni, the more I look at it, like, he kind of fits that Philly shit-talking mindset, you know?
Yeah.
But I do not, it's weird. It's just a weird look to have your coach kind of be the shit-talker and your quarterback, who's half his age, being like, Coach, calm down, relax. Like, that's just a little much, but I can't think of a coach who's done more of a 180 turnaround than him. 2 years ago, as they were flailing around and losing in the first round of the wild card playoffs to the Buccaneers, the first 4 games of this year when they struggled, this guy won a Super Bowl, gets his deal, and you look back and you look at his win-loss record through 5 years or whatever it is, he's 54 and 23. He's top 5 all time in winning percentage among all coaches all time in NFL history. See, he has won 70.1% of his games, playoffs and regular season.
So the Eagles went 1-6 the last 7 games in 2023. Started off last year 2-2.
Yep.
And then went 16-1 the rest of the year.
I can't think of a coach who has completely turned around the entire view of himself within the fan base and within the entire NFL.
It's wild.
Good stuff.
Shout out to Nick Sirianni.
For sure. Anything else? Anything else before we get up out of here, Kenny?
Man, I think we're good, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to remind everybody to go like, subscribe, do all of that.
Please do.
On our YouTube channel, just type in Bluff City Media and you find all of our wonderful shows. Is Anthony, by the way, saying going up to a show a day? What's going on with that?
We're going to go live.
So Anthony Sane show, check that out.
June 2nd. Yep.
Live June 2nd. He'll start right now it's still, what's it?
2 days a week. Wednesday, Friday.
Friday, sorry. And then coming up June 2nd, he's going to go every single day. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But we have a bunch of different things that you can check out. So make sure you go check out everything we have under this umbrella here. at Bluff City Media. But we need to get up out of here, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.